But this actual term, cosmic ordering, what happened was back in 1998, there was a German author, self-help lecturer called Barbel Moore. She wrote a book in German, which I can't pronounce or can't remember. But what happened was when the English version came out, probably 2 or 3 years later, as the title, The Cosmic Ordering Service, it really sparked a lot of interest. So what Barbel Moore did was she came up with her own variation on positive thinking based on the law of attraction. And she said, you don't need to worry about special breathing techniques. You don't need to go into a trance or be hypnotized. She said she wanted it to be something that everyone could do, even if you're not 100% serious about it. So at least be open to the possibility that this weird stuff might work. Like, be playful, experiment. So she wasn't saying, follow these steps and this will happen for you and give me all your money, that sort of attitude. So it's very simple. Her basic strategy was you speak out loud what you want. Whether you want to go out on the balcony and talk to the sky and say, I'm addressing the universe, you know, so that neighbours don't hear you and think you've got some emotional problem. Feel the emotion that comes with it, you know, whether it's love or even, you know, when a man gets a brand new car and there's that new car smell and you get this emotion like, wow, it's almost like the scent of a nice scent of a woman's perfume that reminds you of someone you cared about. So you need to say what you want, feel the emotion to give it life, but also make a clear choice. Like, decide what you want. Like, do you want a 2-bedroom unit that you're trying to find in Randwick, or do you want a multi-storey thing or whatever? So don't give crazy, confusing messages. Now, the idea of making it an order, the concept behind that is when you order online or you order a pizza, you actually believe and you expect that it's going to turn up. Like, if I ring a pizza place and say I want this, 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 within an hour I'm expecting the buzzer of my unit to ring. If it doesn't, I'll be very important. Like, I placed an order. Where are the goods? So this is more than making a request. Oh, please, itty bitty universe, if it's not too much trouble, could I have this or that? You know, a promotion at work or meet someone online, something like that. It's more. There's more commitment, more expectation, and just making a humble request as if you're a little worm, like, I'm just petitioning the universe for this little thing, you know, if it's not too much trouble. No, you're placing an order and you expect it to be delivered. Now that's much more powerful. So the next thing is we need to realise how does reality work? I found 3 key phrases to do with the nature of reality. One is, here we go, holographic. Next one, reflective. Hope you can read this. Yeah, and co-creative. I know preachers usually like to have 3-point sermons, so this is my new age version of a sermon on the nature of reality. Because the whole law of attraction, it's really like, what are we within? You know, like the sci-fi movie The Matrix, where people were they were plugged into these pods that sustain them, but they had a false reality plugged into their nervous system, so they're living in a fantasy world, but really they're slaves in a chemical soup. So, I mean, does anyone ever think, what is this a computer simulation where you've got to learn certain levels? When you've mastered it, then you go to the next level, and the people that used to irritate you, or the bad guys that sort of appear on the screen and try and eliminate you, they stop appearing. and then you get to the highest level where it's all peace, love and jelly beans, you know, like you've conquered another level in the game. Sometimes I feel it's like a game.
In life, you mean?
Yeah, like life, the actual life that we have here. Like we're spiritual beings, but we're having a human journey. And it's almost like the universe is testing us, or we've made an agreement before coming to Earth to have certain things set up so that we learn what it's like to be divine, but also to tolerate and be under pressure and still live from that higher centre rather than having your ego control everything. But anyway, holographic. Has anyone seen holographic images, like at the Powerhouse Museum, where they have a little plastic piece of film or something, they put a laser beam through it, and you end up with a 3D object in front of you that you can...
Star Wars.
Yeah, like Star Wars, Princess Leia appearing in the room. And they say with a hologram, you can break it up in that little disc or whatever it is can be separated into piece by piece by piece, as fine as you can make it. But every little part contains the information to recreate the whole. And this is the same with like DNA. You can take a skin cell, a hair cell, mucus, whatever you want, and they can, I mean, I don't know if they can actually do it now, but the information is there to make a whole new physical you. Maybe not your soul, but at least a physical counterpart. So the universe, every part is connected. So in a sense, you and I are already connected energetically to the things that we want and desire. That job, that relationship, that new home. There's already an invisible thing because everything is an energetic web. So in a sense, between yourself and that object or that event, it's sort of like an invisible web, and you're already connected to it. So it's a matter of reeling it in. If it's meant to be, it might not be. We'll talk about that later. So the holographic thing is everything's made of parts, but they're a united whole, so that everything affects everything else. But the good thing is you are connected to that which you desire. The second part is reality is reflective. I sometimes think of like when you go into a cave and you shout out a word, not necessarily swear words unless no one's around, but you say a word and the cave echoes it back, it reflects. So this is another idea that the universe is impartial. It's not like some Old Testament God that sits there and says you've got to do this or you don't do that or I'll judge you. It's more like it doesn't really matter what you do to a degree. It's how you relate to what's been set up. So you can say I want this, and you keep projecting that and you get that appearing. Maybe not straight away, but that's what you'll be attracting. So the universe just gives back what you give out. So I'd be wary about people like to curse other people, you know, even saying horrible things about someone that you've seen down the road. We can get flustered by people and say uncharitable things, but just think, I think it was Gandhi or someone like that said, when you hurt someone else, you're hurting yourself in some way, because we are one. So the universe is sort of like a big cosmic cave. You echo out, I want this, and eventually it'll say, yeah, you can have it.
But there's a lesson there. Is that right? There's a lesson towards what you want?
Yeah, I guess there's some fine tuning and some things to consider that I'll mention in a short while. The last bit, co-creative. In Indian philosophy, there is a branch that says everything is one, and the idea of like God or divinity and human beings, it's a false split, that there's the ultimate power, then there's just you and me and our bodies. They take it that everything is all one. So in a sense, God or the divine is us. We're just physical outcroppings or manifestations of that ultimate power. So that's a pretty cool thing to be, you know. I told some Mormons You know, like, what have you got to offer me? I'm a divine being. I'm connected with everything. I'm an expression of God. What can you give me that's beyond that? And they didn't even know what the term New Age meant. So that's how blinkered these people have been. They didn't even know what their opponents were thinking. So we are creating along with the universe, because as an individual being, there's a temporary illusion of separation. You know, from your experience in a body, it's almost like you're saying there's me and then there's the universe. So it's almost like a schizophrenic statement, but it's the way we have to use language while we're still in this reality. But that's an amazing thing. We are co-creating. I mean, everyone else is doing things and projecting things, and sometimes I wonder, with 7 billion people all spreading their ideas and their hopes, what happens? Do they sort of intersect and you know, like weather patterns, and then when you get too much of one thing, the whole world starts to shift more towards a state of war or a state of generosity, you know, like we're talking about the overall balance of our thought creations.
Are you talking about mass consciousness?
Yeah, well, yeah, mass consciousness, and there are even machines that they've used that registered spikes in
Princess Diana.
Yeah, Princess Diana, the Twin Towers. They call them negative number generators, and they just showed that although they do random numbers, so many hours before the towers and before Diana or after Diana, they showed an unusual peak in activity which was beyond the random average. So it's almost like our thoughts have affected some electronic equipment around the world, but that's a whole new thing. But I think I've spent enough talking about reality there, except to say that with our DNA, some Russian scientists have figured out that our DNA acts like a transmitter and receiver. It's like your DNA is like an electronic part. And they talk about us being surrounded by a field of energy. And it's not just energy, but it's information. So in a sense, you've got a physical brain, but it could be our physical brain is interacting with a field of information, and that's where we get like psychic things, because we can't find love and hate in the physical brain, but obviously it's only a vehicle to ground something from another level. Okay, issues. Now I had a little bit of illness, so I couldn't do the talk last month. So I've had plenty of time to read or scour the internet and library books and look at all these. Everyone's got their own idea of what the law of attraction is, and I thought, do you swallow this package deal without any criticism, or do you criticise the whole thing and become sort of like an atheistic scientist and say, oh, it's all narcissism, it's all based around who you think you are, and you're so important, the whole universe revolves around you, and you just want. I think we need a balance. I mean, obviously there is marketing involved. You know, people write books and they say these are the 4 or 5 steps, and some people say there's 10 steps to this and 10 steps to that. So, I mean, it's just like following ancient scriptural texts that people say are holy. How far do you take things literally? I think we have to be, we are more than what people can write in books anyway. So, as I look through all these things, I look for the ones that were critical of the law of attraction in general. I don't want to criticise any particular people or authors. I think that's not necessary, but it's all right to talk about ideas. So the sort of things I came up with, the first one was to do with the ego. I call this ego calling, when your ego is sort of luring you in. Apparently it's our lower self, our everyday self, the ego. It is involved in manifesting reality, but it's got more of a minor role. Like you can say, oh, the 392 bus is coming. Do I want to go and get a sandwich, or will I catch that bus and 20 minutes later go and find somewhere to eat? So you can choose. That's your ego saying, I have a desire to eat. So That's a very minor thing, but your ego is involved. I'd say to the greater extent, it's your higher self, which is continuous with all the information and power that's beyond our everyday world. That's where the action's at. But we like to think that our rational ego self is choosing the affirmations that will make everything change. But even Ken Wilber, he used to be into transpersonal psychology, and he's gone beyond that. He's almost like similar to a modern day Carl Jung. He said this idea of the lower self, that's only part of the story. So they put too much emphasis, a lot of writers, about our conscious everyday self choosing to create a new reality. Most of it, he believes, and I tend to agree with him, it's from your higher self, which is from an area that you just have to trust, sort of like unseen, unless you're very intuitive. Using the law of attraction is not about getting things. How many of these books are about the car, the job, the girl, the house? And it's all, nearly everybody's talking about getting. And at one stage it's like, gee, I'd like to use this and get a relationship because I've been single for a while. But then I came across other people that said, what about compassion? What about giving? You came here with a purpose, you've got talents, you've got something to say, you've got something to give. How about giving to the world and then trusting that in return, when the time is right, you will be repaid in maybe not some form that you think, that you prescribe, but it will come back to you. My flatmate and I have given lots of furniture that we didn't want anymore and things like that. And then we found that when we needed things and we didn't have enough money, people would, like a friend donated a DVD player because they were getting a new one. Someone else that fixed computers gave me a monitor and a keyboard. So I've had things that I couldn't afford at the time that just came my way, and I said to my flatmates, see, you've got a chair that you don't need anymore, we don't need this many, give it to charity. It'll come back, and these things have worked. But not that I was doing it saying, oh, I'm waiting, what am I going to get in return? But I had the joy of giving, and things came back eventually. Another thing, the law of attraction in general, it's not some parlour game, or because we're Westerners, we like to think, I've got to learn the technique, I've got to learn the precise steps. It's sort of like doing a dissection on a corpse or something, you've got, where do you do this and where do you do that? We're so hung up on doing technique and being right. There's no natural flow that you just trust in and just ride with it. But we're really obsessed in precision and reason and what's the right sequence, what are the 7 crucial steps that have to be done. It's not like that, because the law of attraction is not so much about how you're going to improve your life, although it can do that. Just think that the law of attraction is really a statement about the flow of the energy in the whole universe. And I don't mean just the physical, but beyond that. It's a very big, awesome thing we're talking about, and we've tried to shrink it down to how's it going to serve me getting that car, or it's a very, it's sort of like how people take God. Instead of God being some immense, wonderful thing, we make him more like ourselves, into someone that's mean and wants to judge and have a tantrum and all this sort of stuff. No, so that's the ego problem. The next one, mixed messages. Maybe this pen will revive when I give it a rest. Messages. Like when you send an SMS, you tell someone one thing, then you have a change of heart, you send them another one, but it could be the order in which they read them. They say, wait a minute, are they ticked off at me now? Or do they want me to take action? It's almost like something out of Seinfeld, where what the hell do they want me to do and what are they saying? So...
What's that one again? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, mixed messages.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say that we're supposed to make a clear statement to the universe, but
Yeah.
some of us, like especially subconsciously, we're saying we want one thing, but then we also say we want maybe something else that's its opposite.
Oh, right.
Yeah, or you know, people that say like people that sometimes pray and they say, look, I really want a Mercedes-Benz, but I'll settle for an old jalopy with 4 cylinders and that. So they're not really saying I definitely want that. I don't think I can have that. Sort of like hedging their bets. So it's a mixed message. Well, what do you want? Do you really want the Mercedes-Benz if it's good for you, or you really think you only deserve the other thing? Affirmations. I found a writer called, I think his first name's Michael Losier, Losier, and he said a lot of people have trouble with affirmations because when we say things in a positive way, there is a part of us that criticises that, and you know, when you say statements like, I deserve a promotion because I work so hard and I've got so much to give. And when people say these affirmations out loud or in their mind, sometimes there's an inner critic that'll say, that's absolute crap. You haven't gotten to that stage. I mean, you can get there eventually, but you know, that's not where you're at now. And so as you're saying it, there's a part of you that says one thing, but there's a deeper part that's undermining and saying, that's not true. That's all BS, you know. And so you've got this mixed message. You're saying something with your mouth, but the heart or the mind is saying, oh, no, that's not right. Another thing about messages, often you say, I want a particular thing, like I want wealth, but is it that we are positively moving towards accepting wealth, or is it more that there's a part of us that's actually so fearful of poverty and being seen as a loser? That's the thing that's motivating, moving away from something that we think is objectionable, rather than actually saying, I deserve wealth and I'm moving towards it, I'm accepting it. So you've got to consider, and some of these things are very hard to figure out, but it's either toward a positive or away from a negative. So if it's more about avoiding something, you're sending out a message saying, I'm really more fearful about that than receiving, and you might actually attract the thing that you don't want. What you focus on is what you get. So we're giving confusing messages to the universe, so it's sort of like giving too many commands to your computer, especially if it's an old one. Say, what do you want me to do? Go next to the next page, open up a new window, go into Word, because you've pressed one thing, and before it can do that, you've pressed something else. So you might get nowhere doing that. Next one, subconscious blocks. I've actually had the joy of going to one of Brandon Bay's seminars. About a year ago, she gave a free talk at the Theosophical Society, and she had pointed out that like people do with their affirmations, and they do all their meditation, and they eat healthy, and they ask for these things, they believe, or they get the feeling, but somehow things don't seem to be happening. And in her opinion, a lot of the problems are that we have subconscious blocks, similar to like the mixed message. There is a part of us so deep that's been wounded, maybe from a past life or who knows what, but there's a part that says, you don't deserve that, you can't have that. So you can do all these outward things that you think are great, but she said, if they leave out the subconscious blocks, or if that's an issue, you might need hypnotherapy or some way to release that. Brandon has her own thing that she calls the journey. And she's got a book about it. So if you want to explore that, if you feel you've got subconscious blocks, that's at least one person I know that's tried to address that. So that can be sabotaging from agendas that we have, you know, the way we want things to be, fears, and even beliefs about what we're entitled to. Next one, missing laws. So we've got some laws that are missing. they always keep talking about the law of attraction, the law of attraction, the law of attraction. But I read a text on numerology, and it outlined about 7 or 8 other principles, like the law of harmony, law of creation, law of karma. So what I found was some authors are saying, especially the people that are into the Hermetic philosophy, which I think is based on ancient Egyptian, with maybe Greek influence, they're saying, in their opinion, one group said there are 7 key principles that you must know and must take into account if you want success. And everyone else is just talking about the law of attraction. So if they've left out some of the other principles that guide you, it's like you've got an incomplete plan. Another author I came across came up with 28 laws. So they must be really dividing things into fine and finer gradations. Now, I would not want to try and mentally tackle, am I fulfilling all 28 laws in one time and place so that I know I've created, the golden child that will come back as my Messiah. So, I mean, trying to know if that's all lined up simultaneously, I think it's too much for the rational brain. So if there are missing laws, we need to take those into account. And the last section about issues, karma or past lives, PL, past lives. Now, Carolyn Meesh, I'm not sure how her name is pronounced, but she talked about soul contracts. So you have made an agreement to go through certain things before you came here, and in a sense, we've chosen our parents, what sort of whether we're going to be male or female, whether we'll have a particular disease, where we will live, what sort of work we'll do, what sort of challenges we will face, and these things are also reflected in our numerology. So if you have previously made a pact with the universe that I'm going to forego certain things and endure others, then maybe that could be a reason. But they don't talk about these things. They make everything so simple and straightforward to sell books, some of them, that and they don't like criticism of saying, but what about this? Oh, you're just being negative. No, people want to know. Like, it's my life. I want to know. And so karma could be the last factor. So what do we do with all this? I would like to take the approach that we don't follow any of these things like legalistically or literally and say, agonise whether it's how many principles you've got to follow that are behind it, or how many steps and what order you do them. I'm just going to make a suggestion based on flicking through about 10, 20, 30 books, scouring the net recently. They basically, if you want to generalise, it boils down to, firstly, like one step, and these can all be like visualised too in your daily living. First part for like a conscious path to follow is choice. Usually they talk about decide what you really want. Like sometimes you have to make a list of the things that you won't settle for so that you know what you do want. So you choose or you decide what you actually want. And some of them might say you have to be very precise. I don't know. I mean, I think if you state basically what you want and you trust the universe to provide that or something even better than what you've imagined, I think that's quite all right. I don't think we should agonise about this and get all... Because that agonising about precision is negative. It's counterproductive. So one aspect is choosing. So you make your decision on what you want. The second part of the formula, passion or emotion. So when you visualise, the image I like to use is going to a cinema and you're the only person in the whole auditorium is just for you. You've got someone running the projector for you and you're like the director of the whole thing. You create the characters on the screen and this is your life. So you can edit it. You can say, cut. You've got to say that with more feeling. You're a schmuck. I don't want you in this film. Get lost. You know, put a new character in. So, passion. I mean, a lot of people do work. They say, I just do it to pay the bills. But how many people would really want to do things that really get them alive? You know, like Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Do that which, it's not just giving back to yourself, but if you do what you're really good at and you love, you're more likely to make some sort of living or get satisfaction and also bless other people. So as you create this movie in this cinema in your mind, and you can do this every day or before you go to sleep, try to get the feeling. How would you say your lines in the affirmation? What sort of emotion? You know, you're creating the whole mix. And the last part is detachment, or allowing, detach. So you can choose what you want, you make a decision, make up your mind, feel it in all the different ways. Like you can imagine, I'm feeling that nice leather in the Mercedes, the smell. I'm feeling the steering wheel, I'm feeling the tyres moving along the road, I'm feeling the acceleration, the wind going through my hair. If you're bald, well, the wind going through your scalp, whatever. And like you build it up. You build up this world in your mind and start to feel it. And you'll probably find, if they were analysing your physical brain, as you go through these things mentally, they'll probably show that certain parts of your brain are lighting up as if you're actually physically doing it. Like someone that knows how to play the piano, they can watch someone on a film, and in their own mind, the parts that they use for using the piano keys will start to activate, even though they're just sitting there watching the performance or thinking about it. So, like neurology and intention and the universe, they go together. So the last part is detach. You need to be grateful and allow that thing to come in. Not worry about it, not fret, like, oh, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, what's happening? Is it on back order now? Has the universe gone on strike? Or, you know, whatever. And we can get worried when things don't appear in our time frame. So it's send it out there and just allow it to be, and realise that it's basically your higher self and the universe at work together, and you have to trust that what's being created is for your highest good, and it will come when you need it in the right time. And although we might say, I want this in 1 month in our affirmations, don't become so literal, you know, because we're talking about something that's alive, dynamic and flowing, so you can't always try and pin that down with a rational mind. So what I would encourage people is to be not legalistic, but experiment and be open to experiences and just see what comes as you do to the best of your knowledge. And if things don't come the way you want, well, you have to trust that there's a higher reason why you didn't receive that at this point, or that it's not coming at all, you know. But ultimately is the universe or the cosmos or the divine, is it there to bless us? Is it, what do they call it, beneficent? Or is it some horrible thing that causes chaos and likes to dangle you and make you suffer? So either you believe that what we're connected to is there, full of love, even though we go through painful human experiences, but the ultimate thing is it's a place of blessing and support and nurture. Otherwise, if you take the other option, then you think, oh, you'll be copying all these horrible things because the universe is just there to have a good laugh at you. So you have to make up your mind what sort of reality it is. And if you accept that things are beneficial, even though you go through sorrow or bereavement or whatever, losses, you'll be able to detach. So you've sent the order, like recently I ordered something online, you send the order and you just know It might be 7 days, 10 days, like they say, but you know it's on its way. And that's all I can encourage you, is to use that law or these concepts in your own way, and just allow it. Don't make it so rigid and literal. And thank you very much for being here. The fact that you're here could mean that maybe some of your things are going to manifest soon.
Okay.